We all love a good blockbuster game, but sometimes even the biggest budgets can't save a title from disaster. Today, we're counting down 10 video games that had massive budgets, but still flopped hard. Some had potential, others were just a mess from the start. Let's dive in.
Anthem was supposed to be BioWare's bold leap into the live-service action genre. Backed by EA and a budget reportedly over $100 million, it had all the ingredients for a blockbuster: stunning visuals, flight-based combat, and a sci-fi world full of promise. But the final product was a hollow shell. The game suffered from a lack of endgame content, a confusing loot system, repetitive missions, and a story that didn't resonate with fans. Development troubles and crunch were later revealed, showing a game that lacked a clear vision from the start. Anthem's potential was never realized, and despite promises of a revamp, it was ultimately abandoned by EA in 2021. Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics had high hopes with Marvel's Avengers, a game that had the power of one of the world's biggest franchises behind it. The budget reportedly exceeded $170 million, and expectations were sky-high. Unfortunately, while the campaign had some strong moments, the overall game quickly became repetitive. The loot-based live-service model didn't resonate with players, content updates were slow, and technical bugs were common. Worse, it struggled to create meaningful engagement in multiplayer. Players dropped off rapidly, and Square Enix eventually admitted it failed to recoup its costs. Despite Marvel branding, the game is often cited as a textbook example of a high-budget live-service failure. Concord was envisioned as Sony's big entry into the hero shooter genre, developed by Firewalk Studios with a substantial budget and major backing from PlayStation. Marketed as a fresh take on the competitive team-based shooter, it aimed to compete with giants like Overwatch and Apex Legends. The promotional materials highlighted vibrant characters and a strong emphasis on teamwork, sparking curiosity and cautious optimism among players. But when gameplay was revealed and early impressions surfaced, reception was lukewarm at best. Critics and fans alike noted that Concord felt derivative, lacking the unique charm or mechanical depth to stand out in a crowded genre. Its visual identity and tone were also seen as too generic, failing to establish a compelling narrative or character appeal that draws players in. Despite the high production value, many labeled it a missed opportunity. Whether it was a matter of poor market timing or misreading what players wanted, Concord quickly faded from the spotlight. It serves as a reminder that even polished products with major funding need innovation and timing to thrive in today's competitive gaming landscape. Gearbox Software released Battleborn in 2016, aiming to blend elements of MOBAs and first-person shooters into a unique experience. It had quirky characters, colorful environments, and ambitious multiplayer modes. The game had a reported development budget close to $100 million. But timing proved fatal. Battleborn launched just weeks before Blizzard's Overwatch, which immediately overshadowed it with more polished gameplay and clearer branding. Battleborn's hybrid style confused many players, and its tutorial system was overwhelming. Player counts dropped sharply within months. Despite post-launch support and a pivot to free-to-play, it couldn't recover. Servers were shut down in 2021, marking it as one of the generation's most notable commercial failures.
You're going nowhere!
Marketed as a spiritual successor to Dead Space, the Callisto protocol was expected to be a next-gen horror masterpiece. With a budget exceeding $160 million, including high-end visuals, mocap performances, and cinematic storytelling, expectations were high. But the final product failed to live up to the hype. Critics noted the game's shallow combat system, linear level design, and lack of variety. Despite strong atmosphere and graphics, gameplay felt repetitive and failed to evolve over time. It also launched with performance issues on PC and consoles. The game's sales were significantly lower than projected, and it couldn't compete with the legacy of the Dead Space franchise it tried to emulate. Often cited as one of the worst games ever made, E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial is infamous in gaming history. Atari paid a small fortune for the license and gave the developer only about 5 weeks to create the game for a holiday 1982 release. Despite the high cost and hype, the rushed development resulted in a nearly unplayable experience. Players were confused by its mechanics, objectives were unclear, and gameplay was downright frustrating. Millions of unsold cartridges were returned, and it became symbolic of the video game crash of 1983. In fact, a massive quantity of ET cartridges was famously buried in a New Mexico landfill, a legend that was confirmed decades later. Too Human had one of the most troubled development cycles in gaming history. Originally planned in the 1990s, it changed platforms multiple times before finally launching on Xbox 360 in 2008. The final version bore the weight of over a decade of expectations and a reported budget nearing $100 million. However, its gameplay mechanics, particularly the odd right-stick melee combat system, were panned by critics. The visuals were already outdated by launch, and the story failed to make a meaningful impact. Legal disputes with Epic Games over the Unreal Engine further damaged the project. Eventually, the game was pulled from sale, and its developer, Silicon Knights, went bankrupt. Cliff Bleszinski, known for Gears of War, returned to the spotlight with LawBreakers, a gravity-defying first-person shooter. Backed by a decent budget and strong pedigree, the game tried to bring innovation to the competitive shooter genre. Unfortunately, it launched in 2017 when the market was already saturated with Overwatch and PUBG dominating attention. Despite positive reviews for its mechanics, LawBreakers failed to attract a sustainable player base. It lacked personality and strong marketing, making it easy to overlook. Within a year, servers were shut down and Boss Key Productions eventually closed its doors. LawBreakers is a clear case of good gameplay let down by poor timing and market strategy. Aliens, Colonial Marines was supposed to be a dream project for fans of the iconic sci-fi franchise. Gearbox Software promised an authentic continuation of the Aliens universe, backed by Sega and a hefty budget. But when the game launched in 2013, players were met with horrendous AI, dated graphics, and numerous bugs. The campaign was dull, full of repetitive objectives, and missing many features shown in earlier demos. A notorious coding typo was later discovered to be the cause of much of the poor enemy behavior. Lawsuits and backlash followed, and the game went down in history as one of the biggest bait-and-switches in gaming. Despite the strong IP, it was a disaster in both sales and reception.
I go back to the transfer.
Redfall was a major Xbox exclusive developed by Arcane Austin, known for hits like Dishonored and Prey. With high expectations and a big budget from Bethesda and Microsoft, it aimed to deliver a vampire hunting co-op shooter with open-world elements. But when it launched in 2023, Redfall was riddled with issues: dumb enemy AI, bland mission design, repetitive gameplay, and major performance problems. Critics and fans alike were baffled by how such a talented studio could miss the mark so badly. The game felt unfinished and unpolished. It quickly became a cautionary tale of how not to handle a high-profile, big-budget release, especially one intended to be a flagship Game Pass title. And there you have it, proof that even hundreds of millions of dollars can't guarantee a great game. Which of these titles disappointed you the most? Or did we miss one? Let us know in the comments, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into gaming history.